Well, we must have done something right because they invited us back.
Yeah, they did. They're gluttons for punishment.
Yeah. Who knew that people wanted to watch us talk?
Yeah.
But welcome to another episode on Ad Free Shows of the review of Wrestlers, the hit series on Netflix. That's been the talk of the business. Um, I've been getting a lot of feedback, a lot of good feedback. How about you, Al? What are you hearing?
So far, everything's been really positive, which, quite honestly shocks me. Typically, when you're in the public eye and you're in the center of attention, you're in the center, which means, not all of it's going to be in front of you. A lot of it's going to be behind your back, and a lot of it's not going to be very positive.
Right.
And really, the only negative things I've really seen been a couple of people on social media that swear that everything that's done on the show is contrived and isn't real, that it's just made up for TV. I only wish that were the truth. You
Yeah.
know, one guy's like, oh, there's no way Haley J's, smoking and driving at the same time. And I'm like, brother, if I wish that was made up, I wish that, she wasn't, they didn't have footage of her actually doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not only
Welcome
was
to the
she
wrestling
not
business.
yeah, not only was she driving and smoking at the same time, she was also texting while she was going a high rate of speed down the highway. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, look, I don't really. I'm not thrilled about that kind of stuff being aired, but I mean, it's real. It is what it is. None of it is contrived. I mean, the editors and Greg Whiteley together did such an amazing job of constructing it. Because again, they took basically 7 hours, 7 days a week, 12 to 16 hours of footage a day that they shot. And then they edited all of that down into, 7 1 hour episodes, and for them that's incredible. People don't realize just how they got to go through all of that footage. They've got to go through it all, initially pick out things that stand out, then they got to go back through it again and back through it again, and each time they go back through the footage, they just keep refining and refining and refining and refining until they get down to the very essence of what tells, particular stories. And that the only way they get that is if they just go through and comb through all that footage. So that takes a lot of dedication, takes a lot of passion to do it, and it'd be certainly a lot easier if a lot of this had been contrived and done just for the cameras, but unfortunately none of it was.
I love that it's on Netflix. I love that it's easy to access, but makes me long for the days of DVDs when you had bonus materials because I would love to have seen the stuff that they left on the cutting room floor. You know.
Oh, there's so much that, when you're imagining what it would look like when the whole project's done, and it doesn't even remotely come close to, because there's so much stuff that was left that they didn't show, that like, and it's good stuff that you're like, oh man, why didn't they show this? Or why didn't you show, when this happened, or when this person acted out or behaved this way, or that bit of drama that occurred, but it just didn't fit within the context of what they were trying to tell. So, you
Yeah,
know,
man. Shout out to Diamond Dallas Page who promoted the show that we're doing today.
yeah,
He's been a big proponent for the show and promoting it, and
yeah, I
yeah,
can't thank him enough.
it's always good when the other wrestlers are promoting it because you know how wrestlers can be. Where like I wasn't involved, so I ain't gonna promote it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, but just to see the rest of the professionals, the guys and the boys.
Yeah, Taz had also promoted it as well. Had sent me a message that he had just got done watching it and really enjoyed it, and promoted it. I know Kevin Nash has talked about it on his podcast and promoted it. I know I did a podcast with Eric Bischoff, and he'd only watched 2 episodes at that point and loved it. Um, Road Dog said he watched it and loved it. So I'm thrilled because like I explained to Greg, the director, and everyone else, I was like, look, when you guys go away, like I'm gonna have to still be in this world,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna literally walk back out into this world, and I'm gonna have to face these people, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have to be responsible for what you're doing here. No one else is, you know, not my partners, not any of the other talent. They're not going to be held accountable. Just me. That's it, you know. And so I've been breathing a big sigh of relief that everybody has found it to be so so positive. Thank God.
Speaking of partners, we're today we're reviewing episode 4 and 5.
Mhm.
There's a scene with Matt Jones in one of his home
Mhm.
studios, and Matt Jones, man of a million candles.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm watching. I was like, man, there's a lot of candles on that desk, and then it's just like, no, it was cool to watch him, work from home, do his radio
Mhm.
show. But the thing that stuck out to me, there's a sign about moms saying everything my mom told me turned out to be true, and I'm starting to on episode 4. I'm starting to grow a little bit. Yeah, I'm starting to like Matt Jones as a person,
Oh,
being
good.
a fellow mama's boy that I am, and
Mhm.
grandmama's boy, and yeah, it was cool to see him bring his mom to her first show, and then he talks about his mom, and they talk about his episode with the seizure,
Right.
and you get a little bit of a glimpse into his childhood. How he had a lot of struggles, but it was always him and his mom, and
Mhm.
it was so relatable to it, and it's another the thing I love about wrestlers is the humanity that it shows.
Mhm.
There's a couple,
Yeah.
first couple episodes, I was like, who the F is this guy? I'm trying not to swear, but,
Yeah.
I'm from South Philly, it's hard not to swear. But, yeah, I'm like, "Who the F is this guy calling wrestling fans wrestling nerds," and all but then, like, he's coming around to for me.
Well, I think Matt, I've talked about this, came from the world of radio where he was the talent, and the talent, in the entertainment industry is what drives the bus, and as such, we've all known wrestlers. They come in the territory and they're a little demure and they're, not too verbose, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they start getting over. And the more they start getting over, the more they start kind of behaving and becoming a little bit of a gorilla in the locker room. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And and the office kind of lets them get away with it. The talent start behaving sometimes out and out disrespectfully. You know what I mean? They become divas, and they act out, and because they know they can behave with impunity and they can get away with it because they're the thing that's driving the bus right now. And I think Matt came from the radio world where he got to be the 500-pound gorilla in the room. You know what I mean? He
yeah,
got to behave any way he wanted. And he came into this world thinking that he could kind of still do the same. And, and the fact that he felt like, well, I'm the boss. So then he was even more like, I can get away with it. And it created a very adversarial, toxic environment, amongst everyone with him. And I think it took him a while to where he's starting to, at least on the surface, starting to look like, he's reining it in and starting to realize that, you've got to maneuver and navigate through the locker room and the business of professional wrestling in a completely different manner. Otherwise, you're going to walk up against a stone wall. You're not going to win.
yeah,
The wrestlers are the talent, and the talent are the product in professional wrestling. You no longer are. I'm no longer the product. I'm no longer one of the boys. I'm not in the locker room anymore. I'm now part of the. I hate saying this, but I'm the office. You
yeah.
know, so I got a different role
You're the
now.
pencil.
Yeah, I got a different role.
Yeah.
I'm not, one of the boys anymore. And I understand that. I mean, I'd rather be one of the boys any day of the week. Trust me. But I know where I'm at, and I know that I have to deal with and I have to treat the talent accordingly. You know.
They kind of set the tone for that in episode 2, and I have to curse the producers because they have REO Speedwagon stuck in my head.
Ooh,
Uh,
yeah,
heard it from a friend who
yeah. I hate. God, I don't know what it is about that man's voice, but I just want
little
to.
inside
Yeah,
baseball.
yeah.
I learned that Al. Maybe I shouldn't even mention this because now it's going to lead to more ribbing. But
I see.
I learned that Al hates the song. Uh,
I hate REO Speedway. I don't know what it
really,
is. The guy,
I thought it was
yeah,
just that one song. I would have. I,
no. I mean, that Heard It From a Friend song really sets me off. A couple of their other songs do too, but it's that guy's voice. I don't know what it is. The lead singer of REO Speedway. I'm
Kevin
sure he's a nice
Cronin.
guy. Yeah, I'm sure he's a nice
Kevin
guy. He's
Cronin is a fine crooner.
he's a very talented guy.
He
But
plays
for
piano
whatever,
and sings.
but man, every time I hear that voice on the radio, it just sends a surge of anger through me, and I've got to turn the station. I gotta get away from it because I just want to go find him and beat the shit out of him. I mean, it just it doesn't make any psychological sense at all. But that and UB40's Red Wine just pisses
I'm
me
with you on
off.
that.
I mean, oh,
That
I
song's
hear it,
terrific.
I get so mad. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I
yeah,
just want to fight the whole band. I
yeah.
just want to fight them all. I really do. I don't know why, but I just like, you just turn it off, you
The monkey
know?
get dope,
And,
the dope,
and,
dope, dope. I'm like, oh, well,
and,
shut the fuck up, man. Jesus.
and the
That's what I
REO
listen for.
Speedwagon, man, that's
Kevin
fighting
Cronin is a
music.
fine singer, Al. Even
That's,
though he has an
yeah,
Aunt Judy perm.
listen,
Uh,
I want to throw hands with him. Now he might be able. I'm sure he's probably going to be able to whip my ass. He's just not going to look good doing it.
yeah,
So because I'll curl up in a ball and scream. So
yeah.
but
Little inside baseball. I learned Al hated the song. I don't know. I heard it from a friend who, and
yeah,
anytime it came on the radio, I would just pick up my phone and do the Haley, just fucking call somebody
yeah.
blind, call Al, and just play the whole song on his voicemail. Just,
Oh, I hated that.
but
Hated it.
that song set the tone for the show because the song is called "Roll with the Changes,"
Yeah.
and throughout the course of the show, people are rolling with changes.
Right. Yeah.
You go from wrestler to being office the pencil.
Hmm.
Matt Jones goes from being the product to an owner to where he's got to finesse some egos and stuff like that. And the use of music in the show is beautiful.
It's
Uh,
brilliant. Yeah.
yeah.
It
Um,
really is.
and speaking of producing egos, we we go to the point where you need to find an opponent for Shira
Hmm.
because he's a massive big man. And I
Hmm.
guess to this point, he's been, you see Shearer versus somebody, they're like, oh, Shearer's going to win. This
Yeah.
really hasn't. But then, you book James Storm, the great James Storm,
Yes.
friend of the show, love him. And
Yeah.
Shearer's faced with the possibility of losing the title.
Yeah.
And as soon as you tell him
Hmm.
you're losing the title, you could feel through the screen,
Oh.
the oh no, yeah, the
Yeah.
I'm losing the title. And I think he handled it well.
He did. And and I tried to explain, business wise what I'm trying to do, which got derailed obviously because Shira hurt his shoulder in the match. But the idea was to bring James in. James absolutely, and I have to address this in public. Uh, you know, Matt, due to his both a combination of arrogance and ignorance, made a statement, that James, who was doing me a personal favor, okay,
Yes.
and we
Yes.
all, and I want to make this clear, we all do that for each other. We call it the brother deal.
Me
You
brother, brother.
know, Shane Helms has done it for me. Tommy Dreamer has done it for me. Billy Gunn has done it for me. Abyss, Scotty Tuhati, Kevin Fertig. I go down the list of guys, you know, that have come in for the brother deal and taken a lot less money than they're actually worth. I mean, and James was willing to do that. One, because it was for me, and two, it was a way, you know, it was a 2 hour ride up from Nashville. It was a way for him to get back to Shira, who he had a personal relationship with. And it was a way for him to get back to the business and to the, you know, the younger generation to come in and do that. Because quite honestly, having a guy like James Storm helps elevate not just Shira, it helps elevate everyone there in the locker room,
Yep.
the whole roster. It elevates the company, and it also gives a lot of those young talent a chance to be around someone like a James Storm, see how he carries himself, ask him questions, you know, get some insight in what it takes to be a draw. And, you know, Matt, you know, made a claim like, you know, you know, he's $600. I don't think he's worth $600. I don't think he can sell 60 tickets, which was absurd and such a ignorant thing to say.
Yeah.
Not in an insulting way, but just clearly that's said out of pure ignorance of not knowing what it is you're talking about. And, you know, because James, quite honestly, is worth more than that because of the, you know, the being able to put his name on a poster, then the potential number of people that recognize him and then motivated to buy a ticket is far greater than just 60 people. You know what I mean? And, you know, and I want to make it understood like he did that out of the goodness of his own heart. He didn't have to do that. And he's definitely worth more and budget wise. And the fact that I wanted to use him on a consistent basis, I couldn't afford to do it. And I explained that to him, and he was willing to do me a favor.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, Dixie Carter a couple of weeks ago literally did a, you know, filmed a promo and aired it. We aired it on the show, made an appearance on the show. She hadn't done anything with wrestling in years. She did it for nothing, but she did it for me as a favor, and she did it for Mike EC3, and she did it for Jesse Goddard because it was an integral part in of telling their story, you know, and it really helped OVW as well in a lot of ways. So I can't thank her enough, but she did that as a favor,
Yeah.
and a lot of talent will do that for each other, you know, across the board, and you know I can't thank James enough because he's absolutely can sell more than 60 tickets, and he's absolutely worth more than what I gave him. I just unfortunately I couldn't afford to do better.
There's things you do in wrestling uh, for business to make a living. Then there's things
Hmm.
you do for fun, and just to know, hey, I get to see Al for a day. You know, I get to
Hmm.
see Shira for a day. I, Sometimes you do things just for the fun of it. You know, just
Yeah,
James is a total pro and for doing that and stuff like that.
sure. Yeah, absolutely
Uh,
is.
yeah. Um, and you bring up Shear's injury during the you just brought up Shear's injury, and
Hmm.
it's like a double-edged sword in a
Hmm.
way because I see he's dropping the belt to James. You want to have him chase James for the title. He injures his shoulder, but it makes me wonder if like if it was one of those injuries that it was going to just happen anyway. And imagine if it happened in another match and you had to figure out a way to get the belt off of him. You know,
True. Yeah. Yeah. I
so
mean, everything happens at the, you know, for a reason and at the time that it does. And, you know, it really, though, that wasn't the plan. The plan
right,
was in my hopes were in the chase because there's always more heat in the
yes,
chase, you know, and watching your protagonist, your good guy, your hero climbing the mountain and then reaching the top, you know, that elevates him, makes him even more, gets him over even more. And so it was my hope that by having an opponent of the level of James Storm, having him lose the title and then having to chase James for several months and then finally getting it back and planting the flag at the summit would really help to elevate Shira even to a completely different level than what he originally was, you know. And then unfortunately it just didn't play out that way, you know, because he got hurt and couldn't be in there, you know, to do so. So
it was. I mean, it was awesome to you know just to see him kind of yeah, I didn't want to say mature, but just the way he handled it. You know,
Hmm.
uh, it made me think back to my first match. We did a show in Wallsburg. My first match was for the Lumberjack, one of our fellow students in Wallsburg. I was wrestling Gaza Coleman, the guy who was wrestling as Kodiak. And you told me I was losing my first match, and I was just like, I didn't handle it as well as him losing because, but I had
Yeah.
other factors in it. Much like Shira, he learned his father was his passing away. At that time, when I was training with you, I learned that my grandfather was passing away from cancer.
Right.
I just want to have, because people go, "Oh, my I paid dues." Well, families pay dues too, and they were paying dues for me to chase this dream. I wanted to give them something, some kind of glimmer of hope that I wasn't wasting my opportunity, to move away
Hmm.
from home. But I love the way Shira handled it, and then you see the personal struggle with him going to rehab and
Uh,
working his shoulder. And he's talking about his dream of being like a Arnold Schwarzenegger and chasing the American dream. Um,
mhm.
just like how long did that process take for him to rebound?
A couple months. It took probably more than 8 weeks. I think 8 to 10 weeks or something like that to get fully back. Where he could be in the ring and feel confident and secure. You know, he had just come off an injury not long before that where he had broke his foot. He had
Oof,
tried to do like a choke slam into a backbreaker, and his foot was caught up like this, and it snapped his foot, and he was out for for a while with that. Um, and then he, then had this shoulder separation that, you know, kept him out again. So that made it even, I think, even harder on him.
yeah,
That he had had two consecutive ones in a row, right one after another, and he had to really deal with that and everything else that was going on, and looking at it as like another setback for him.
yeah,
It can be difficult, and then you get that time at home by yourself. You start getting in your own head,
yeah,
and then everything multiplies from there. And no matter how much I try to guide them and console them and direct them and let them have the benefit of my experience, they are so deep in their own head at that point that they just don't listen. They get so caught up, and then it just makes it 100 times worse. So, but Shira's done well, and has grown and developed so much. I'm so proud of him. I just recently, not that long ago, I really put a big challenge in front of him. I had done it was an angle, for TV that I had to do where he had done whatever, I forget what it was, and he had the heavyweight title, and I wanted to, I had to punish him for what he had done. So
yeah,
I basically said, look, I'm going to require you to defend your title, but guess what? I'm going to tell you who you got to face, and you've got to face not just one, but you got to face like the whole top five. You know what I mean, of the top 10. So he had to wrestle like 5 different times through the 2 hours, you know, and not only was he able to make each person that he wrestled look better for doing it, right?
yeah,
It made him look even bigger and better because he had made it through 5 opponents, and then like Cash just barely beat him at the end for the heavyweight title. So it made him even look that much more like a monster, in spite of it all. You know what I mean? It was so, I was so proud of the fact that he was able to do that and do it so well. Not just go out there and wrestle 5 times, but to go out there and be able to deliver on the nuances of each match. That was really cool to see.
and in a lot of ways, it's a mini condensed version of something like a Ric Flair used to do back in the day when he had to go into a territory and make his opponent
Hmm.
bring his opponent back up. So when he was done with the territory, that guy
Was
then
better
carried
for it.
it was better for it. So in
Yeah.
that night, Shara was is it Shara or Shara? I'm sorry,
Shira.
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 I don't want to botch that, but just it was cool that it bettered, it made him better, but also the opponents he wrestled with be better.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
speaking of like you're talking about setbacks, there's a scene where Haley gets caught smoking again on
Yeah.
the premises, and you were talking about earlier where you wish she hadn't been caught on camera
I
doing something.
just wish, yeah, I wish they, she's very young, she's very immature, and really
As
in
we all are.
general, right. But I mean, in general, most wrestlers are self destructive. I
Yes.
don't know why. You know what I mean? Everyone talks about and claims. I'll be honest, because there's a guy, like I think I said, mentioned that, the negative thing about him thinking that all is contrived. Unfortunately, it's not to the point, okay, that last week I had an inspector for the state athletic commission show up, which is fine. That doesn't bother me,
Right.
but he made it a point to tell me that he was sent by the board of directors, who had seen drug use by talent on the television show, and that, hey, we still have the rule on the books that we can, drug test anybody spontaneously at any time whenever we want. We can show up at a show and do that. And I go, look, you don't have to do that because I want you to tell the board that I run an operation based on integrity.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, and I don't care, you know me, Brian, I don't
Yeah.
care who it is. Okay. I don't care if it's, somebody that's over like Hulk Hogan or Steve Austin. That,
Peekaboo. Incoming.
I
Do
thought
not
the do
disturb.
not disturb kept that from happening. Fuck, it's TV day. So,
We need a
um,
show. Al Snow versus technology.
yeah. So, I assured him. I said, "Listen, I'm going to run this based on integrity, and I'm going to tell you right now, like I don't care what people do. I clear enough, and you know me, I don't judge anybody for anything. I don't care
No.
what they do. I say it all the time. You can stuff peanut butter up your ass. I don't care, as long
Hey,
as
Al,
it's
I'm sitting
on.
right here. I'm sitting right here. You have to out me like that, man.
But as long as it's on your time, you know what I
You're right.
mean. I
Right. Yeah.
don't care what you do, as long as it does not stain all together are doing and what we're all together sacrificing and what we're all together working so hard to get. As long as you don't do that, brother, you can do what you want. I don't care. But when you start doing things, you know, that now are going to stain everyone else, my responsibility is to what's the best interest of the locker room. And I'm not going to one to then sacrifice everyone else. That was like when Jake Lawless got busted in the parking lot
Yeah.
snorting, pain pills. I feel terrible for the kid. I really do. I mean, he's clearly had some problems. But guess
Yeah.
what? You got to go. You can't be here, because now what you do just put at risk everyone else. I'm not going to let you do that, and let's face facts. Like you have to understand the wrestlers don't work for me. They work with me. And the
Right.
only way that I have any modicum of direction or control is because they all trust and believe and respect that I have everyone's best interest in the bigger picture. I am more concerned about that than I am any one single person's interest. And after I had that meeting with the inspector, I went out that later that night at the end of TV, and I had another meeting with the talent, and again reiterated what I constantly have to. You want to be self-destructive? That's your business, but
Right.
I'm going to make sure you're the only one that gets destroyed. You're not going to. No one here is going to stain this opportunity that we all have, because now unfortunately OVW, that used to be under the radar and no one paid attention to and no one cared about, and now everyone's watching. And now, because of the fact that everyone's watching, that unfortunately it's human nature. There are a lot of people that would love nothing more than to watch us have some kind of salacious drama and fall apart and fail, you
Right.
know. And it just is what it is. That's not impugning, and they're bad people. That's human nature, is to always want the negative, or think the negative, or expect the negative. It's a survival instinct. And
Yeah.
that now, and inevitably everyone loves to see somebody succeed, but they like it even more when they fall, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I won't let any one person put bullets in a gun and allow somebody else to shoot us. It's not going to happen.
One of the early lessons I learned from you at Body Slammers, was it only takes one person to screw it up for everybody.
To kill it.
Yeah, or the
Absolutely.
burn the town.
Yep, takes the whole card, takes everybody to build the business, to build the town. Takes one person to kill a town. One, just one, to go out there and do something in the public eye that kills the town. Just one. That takes all of us sacrificing our time with our families, sacrificing our bodies, sacrificing our emotional states. It takes one person to go out there in their own self-interest and ruin it, and I won't stand for it. Will not stand for it.
Well, that leads me to the scene where there's the meeting about AEW, and Haley's talking about
Mhm.
how she thinks she's going to be left off the AEW taping because she got caught smoking. Was that a direct correlation?
No, no, it wasn't. It was, because at the time I didn't actually catch her. You know, there was inferred things and remarks, but I have to have indisputable evidence of any behavior
Right.
or act. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always try to address it like you would in court. You know what I mean?
Right.
If well, so and so said, well, that's, they're not coming to me and they're not giving me evidence, something that I can then go, oh, well, clearly that happened. I need to address this. You know what I mean? Because now what it's going to come down to is if I address it with the two people, I go, hey, this guy says you did this, and then you go, well, no, I didn't, and then the guy goes, yes, you did, you go, no, I didn't. I don't have any tangible evidence for me to
Rabbit
go,
season,
oh,
duck season,
clearly,
rabbit season.
correct. I can't do it. I can't act on it.
Right.
Otherwise, now all I have to do is allow another person to come walking in, and the guy that originally made the accusation, another person comes in, makes an accusation about them doing something, and now apparently I've just got to take that person's word and now punish this person. It can't work that way,
Right.
because then the inmates start to run the asylum, and then
Yes.
they start basically going to you all the time like children and throwing each other under the bus with unsubstantiated claims. You know,
Right.
it got. I'll give you a good story.
Sure.
I was here, and we did a performer. Literally, I'm not making this up. Faked, created fake email accounts to email, messages by another talent to another talent, so that they could create drama, and then impugn that talent's rep, claiming that and making accusations that were now founded accusations because they had copies of the emails that were sent, but were never sent from that particular talent. They were sent from the other talent who literally created fake accounts to do it. I mean, how Machiavellian can you get? You know what I mean?
That's my
And that
$5 word
stuff
for the day.
happens. Yeah, yeah. How crazy is that? You
Yeah.
know, to go to that degree to basically, besmirch someone else's reputation, and all in the endeavor of trying to get them ousted out of the locker room. So that kind of stuff happens, and I've got to do a lot of due diligence
Mhm.
to ensure that when an action is taken, that action is taken against somebody, it's done based off of reliable evidence. I had a talent that just recently behaved in a very unprofessional manner in the locker room, not last week, but the week before. And then last week, I got rid of him. I explain to them, you've got to go, because the balance of that trust and respect, if I don't have it, and you as a talent don't really trust and respect that I've got your best interest in heart, a talent does things that are unprofessional prior to going to the ring, you know, if I don't act on that, I don't now take steps to prevent that from going forward. Now I can walk up to you and I go, hey, I need you to do X, Y, Z, and you just go doing it. I need you to work with so and so. No, I'm not doing it. What do I do? I can't make you do it. You know what I mean? I can't force you to do it. I've got it. It's very much a synergistic relationship, and I've got to try to navigate that and deal with it as best I can. But again, at the end of the day, I can assure everybody that if I have actual undisputed, I can act on it, and I do act on it, and I will eliminate those people from the locker room.
Well, you brought up a good word I learned from Stephen Regal, besmirch. And
Yes,
that leads us to episode 5, where Darkstorm
yes,
is besmirching the entire state of women's professional wrestling as
I know.
as Haley J and Maria take a
And I
booking.
think, yeah, they take a booking with WoW, which
Yeah,
was, it just that stuff aggravated me to no end, and I think
understandably.
it comes across, and here's why. At that time, I'm already investing in them. The one thing all of you want, okay? I'm investing in you, my time, my money, my effort, and I'm giving you TV time to tell a story, to start building your story, the one you wanted to do, the one you came to me. I'm okay. We're going to do this. We're going to commit. We're going to do it, and we're going to start telling this story. Now you come tell me, well, I can't be here for 2 or 3 or whatever number, going off and doing this other thing. Which, if it's AEW or WWE, I get it. Okay,
Yeah,
you're now getting a chance at a higher platform, a greater amount of exposure. You're now, though, number one, you're pulling yourself off of my TV that I already started putting time into you. Okay, assuming that you were going to be here, you're pulling yourself out of that you wanted to do, and you're pulling yourself out of the BBC being here, the Netflix project that's going to give you a level of exposure you can't even get on Raw.
right.
Okay, and now you're going to make a lateral move. You're basically going to another company that's on the same one, and that's not going to give you any greater level of exposure, especially considering that this is right in the middle of the heart of a documentary that's being filmed about you. You choose to leave, and that's because it's a one-way street with these talent.
Mhm.
You know, it's me. I've got to give. I've got to, make adjustments. I've got to, change plans. I've got to, based on their availability, because they can just come and go as they please. They don't have to commit. They don't have to, but I've got to commit. I've got to commit to them. I've got to be willing to, make them into something, make them into an attraction, into a star, and I've got to commit. But hey, I decide I want it anytime I want to go. That gets frustrating.
Yeah.
And I think I said that on the show, on the documentary. It does. It's very frustrating because it's very much a, fuck off, fuck you, type of thing.
To
That's
me,
the way it is. I mean, because it's like, your shit's not that important. I'll, when I get back, I get back. Then when they don't have another option on the table, oh, now my shit's really important. You know what I mean? Now, brother, I'm all for it. I'm all in it. And then the second that the something shinier gets dangled in front of their face, it's, oh well, I gotta go, brother.
the thing is
So
that
now I know what it feels like to be the wife. When the hot chick comes walking past and let me check this
the
out over
the
here.
meme where the guy's
Yeah,
got
and then
he's looking back.
then what? Yeah, that's exactly it. That's me. I'm OVW, and now this shiny thing over here is so much more important.
Well, the thing that was to me short-sighted about it is, I mean, if she
Hmm.
hadn't had the opportunity with Ohio Valley, fine, go do it. But
Mhm.
Haley J, like I tell everybody, every wrestler is a business, their own
Mhm.
personal business, and they're subsidiary of whoever they're working for. She's Haley
Yeah.
J. She's chasing that quick buck
Mhm.
with WoW, and
Wow.
they're not even calling her Haley J over there. They're calling her something totally different.
No. Colors, and she's walking away because the one thing as a business you need is advertisement. You need
Yeah,
a commercial. And
yeah,
she's literally walking out of the biggest and best commercial she'll ever get in her life.
yeah.
And she's walking away from it to go to California, to go to WoW. You know what I mean? Where he's selling her, and here she's already committed to being a part of a story, and now that she and her mother are just walking out on the story, like, we'll just pick up on it when we get back. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes the things are they happen at in a certain window of time, and they can't happen any other time. By having them leave, that you're gambling that I'm going to be able to figure out a way to reignite this and make this pick back up to the same intensity that it was when you left
All right.
without having you here for several weeks. And luckily they followed my direction because they show the scene where, out of context, shoving Haley down on the floor and Haley getting the boo boo face. And that all happened when they came back, because that
Oh,
was what triggered me being able to start it back up again and get the momentum leading into that match. Was
gotcha.
that I needed that moment of drama, because without it, not going to be that emotional connection. So the match was just going to be useless to try to continue to work towards. So I had to kickstart and reignite what I would have already been building towards for several weeks. You know what I mean? Think of it, you're reading a book, and then all of a sudden you get halfway through, a story, and then you're 4 chapters. And then you got to pick up 4 chapters after that and get back into the story just as much as you were before those 4 missing chapters. You
Mhm.
know, kind of hard.
Yes.
And that basically is what they did to me when they walked out. They were like, we're going to WoW, and I'm like, oh, well, thank you. And now,
Went to
and
WoW.
they're, of course, when they return, they want me to throw them right back into the mix and make them a prominent part of the show again,
Right.
right? But we took 4 chapters out of your stories. So, if I can't figure out a way to catch that audience again in one page, we're screwed. But you'll do it. It's on you. We're going to WoW. Off we go.
Yeah. Speaking of
I mean,
another chapter in their story, it leads to Haley and Maria having a death match, which it became a meme of sorts when the producer asked you, Al, what is a death match?
yeah, I said something stupid.
Something
That's
fucking
done by
stupid.
people
Yes.
that fucking stupid. It's done by people that don't have the talent to be real professional wrestlers. Yeah. I'm not judging anybody. I don't
Right.
care. You do you. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not making excuses. I'm not quantifying my opinion. My opinion is what it is. Okay. I know that wrestling's an art form. Okay. And I know that just like movies, well, they're a means of a storytelling device. And there are horror movies. There are gruesome horror films. There are bloody horror films. There are extremely violent horror films. They're all, there's suspense horror films. There's all kinds. Okay. And they appeal to all audiences, like to go to the same thing. Right.
Mhm.
And I understand that, you know, and don't get me wrong, because I genuinely, the only reason I care is because it affects business. Okay. And I'll explain how. Uh, in wrestling, I agree. Same thing. It's an art form. You can do whatever you want. Like, everybody was in an uproar, about the girl at the bar, and she stuffed a worked used tampon in the other girl's mouth. Hey, If you go ahead, you know what I mean? You do you. If you want to be successful to just that very small niche audience, you go do that. You know what I mean? You're only going to appeal to that much of an audience. I mean, that's just is what it is. You're a death match guy. You want to go and you want that's your deal, and you can be successful to that much of an audience. But understand again at the end of the day, a couple of things. One, every time you enter that ring, no matter what you're doing, there is a percentage of risk that you will suffer life-ending injury.
Yeah.
Why in the world would you want to take that kind of risk to only get a minimal amount of a reward instead of trying to reach as large an audience as possible? But you do you. Okay. Here's the other problem, though. Okay. Wrestling isn't like the movies in two key ways. And wrestlers are probably the most recognizable in public celebrities in the world. You could have literally Tom Cruise standing there beside, Hulk Hogan, and people are going to recognize Hulk Hogan long before they'll recognize Tom Cruise in the airport.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. You know what I mean? They will. Goldberg, Kevin Nash, any major star in wrestling, they will long before they ever recognize Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in LA airport and Slash was sitting right across from me in the gate. Nobody approached him. Nobody talked to him. People came up to me, not because I was a bigger star, just I was more recognizable than he was, and, that was it. And he over there. Good for him. One
Yeah.
or two came up and noticed him, but not like you'd think, but here's the second, okay? Here's the second reason that it's different. All right? Because we're not actors. We're portraying who we are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All right? But we're also portraying the one that an audience wants to believe in, and that's the outcome, the finish, that it's an actual sporting event.
Yes.
All right? Well, and the average audience doesn't know anything other than WWE is
Yes.
professional wrestling. Now they see GLCW, they see ECW, they see AWA, they see all the same to them. It's all just indie, nobody knows wrestling. That's it. And so a good example is like when I first bought the company, Ian Rotten, one of his guys, I think it was his son, was promoting at one of these deathmatch shows right across the river in Jeffersonville, like 10 minutes away. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They had, they had all these different, blood and guts matches, and they had a pane of glass match. And a young guy that was participating in the panes of glass match went through a pane of glass and had like a 26-inch wound on his back, cut open. He had to go get, I forget how many stitches. Okay, his dad took him to the hospital. Well, the hospital goes, how'd that happen? And the dad goes, well, he was wrestling in this match at the show in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And they go, did everyone get blood tested, the wrestlers? They goes, no, nobody got blood tested. Oh, okay. Now the health department issues a public health alert. Get ready for this. Issues a public health alert. Anyone who attended the wrestling show on blah, blah, blah in Jeffersonville, Indiana needs to go get tested for HIV, Hep A, and Hep B, and Hep C, right? The local news picks this up. This is a major news story for a week and a half. Now, I'm now trying to build business and promote OVW, and the audience doesn't know OVW from this group across the river. And now I've literally got fans going, I ain't bringing my kids to that show. That's one of them HIV wrestling shows. I ain't doing that. So now you doing the thing you want to do has ruined the opportunity somewhere else, not even associated with you. And that's why I have a problem with it, is because it is not conducive to the overall health of and welfare of the wrestlers, one, and of the wrestling business, two. because it doesn't appeal to a broad, uh, basic, general applies to a very niche audience, but you're turning off so many thousands of other people, and now it's affecting how I'm making a living. So yeah, I think it's a stupid thing to do.
And it goes back to the point, it always takes one person to fuck it up for the rest of
One
the people.
person in the wrestling, but you know as well as I do, Meanie, in the wrestling business, shit doesn't. It basically gets thrown against the fan and it splatters everyone. And
Yes.
like that kid got a 26-inch wound in his back. Well, that shit went and hit the fan and splattered everywhere.
Yeah.
And I got coated in it too.
Yeah.
And that's not fair, you know. What do you do?
But
And we did that. I agreed to do that death match. And you know why I did? Because Maria had pitched that idea to the producers of BBC, and they were intrigued and wanted one. They wanted to see one, and I thought, well, I'll be damned if I'm going to let them see it somewhere else. I'm going to, if I know I can do it the right way, tell a story with it, and I can then direct them to do it in the proper manner that we can get an emotional response. Which was at the end, the when Haley went back in and hugged Maria, the audience started crying,
yeah.
you know, and that was what I was going for. Everything we do is to work towards a particular. That whole story for all of that time leading up between the two of them and the angst they had, and then having that match as a symbolic way of that where they were able to get some of that out of them and then have that reuniting when they go, she came back in that ring. That was what it was all for. And for a shoot was I actually wanted to kind of relationship because I knew they'd get some of that out and off their chest and would allow them to kind of mend the fences personally in their real lives.
It was reminiscent of a story I heard of where Bill Watts had two guys in the locker room who had an issue, and he pulled them aside, put them in a room, and just told them to beat the shit out of each other and get it out of their system. And once they got it out of their system, they were fine from that point out. But
Yeah.
you're talking about the fans in the
Mm-hmm.
stands watching that match and crying. I felt that
Mm-hmm.
emotion through the screen where Haley goes back in and she's looking at her mom and she's
Mm-hmm.
feeling the blood on her mom's face and she hugs her. It's yeah,
Yeah.
I got a little bit in my house in South Philadelphia, felt a little I got emotional watching that, and I think
That was
that
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 was
was
the
the
intent.
art that
Mm-hmm.
was the art of how you
Yes.
properly do those types of matches.
Because there's got to be a why, and
Yeah.
and there was so much between the two of them that was what created the reason for having those. And I knew if I allowed them to do it and directed them, I could tell a story and I could do it the right way. If there was a right way to do it, which was at the end of the day was to get that audience to truly feel like they've reunited and they've went past and had a breakthrough, and they did. I think they legitimately for them through that match, you know. And I told Maria before and Haley before I go, if we do this right, you got when I said, Haley, I want you when you meet your mom, I want you to walk out. And I want you to literally get up there on the stage and stop and just keep looking back at her and then hesitate and wait. And I want you to start walking back in slowly and take your time to what you're going to do, what your real intentions are. And then that way, when you hug her, uh, you know, you're going to make these people cry, you know. And I said, and that's what I want. I want them to cry. I want them to feel like it was worth what you guys did to bring you back together again, and it worked. Thank God it worked.
And multiple levels, throughout the show they talk, not to bring up WoW again, but there's that
Mm-hmm.
there's the personality profile where she's being interviewed and talking about everything. Or they're interviewing Maria. Sorry, pronouns, pal. They interviewed Maria about her rough life and everything she had to do to raise Haley, and
Mm-hmm.
all the rough stuff Haley's going through. Her relationship with at that moment with Darkstorm. It
Yeah.
seems there was hints and allegations to some roughness there, and
Yeah.
then just to go into this match and literally see them beat the shit out of each other. Uh,
Yeah.
all that pre leading up to it, behind the scenes, real life angst, all that stuff come together in that moment, and
Hmm.
with that hug, you just felt it. And I
Hmm.
kudos to you for allowing them to do it, and kudos for you know the production team who caught everything leading up to that, and
Yeah.
in the presentation of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was, it was an awesome story, So, that's what we try to do is we try to, really create those, stories. And I try to always do what Jerry Jarrett used to say. He's all, well, boys, you tell enough of the truth, they'll believe a lie, you know, and that is true. I mean, if you can sense there's a little bit of study between two people, if you put it out on camera, it's going to come across that much more real and believable, anyways, because an audience can feel it. You know what I mean? They can tell that they can smell that underneath that top layer. There's some real dirt there. You know, there's some substance, and that's where because now they're bought into it, and they're like, well, I know this stuff's bullshit, but,
Yeah.
but this right here, this is real. You can tell these two, this mom and her daughter, they don't like each other. And then when they hug, that is real. That's what makes you cry, makes you feel it, because you knew when they did it, like you could tell it was they really were doing it. They were really hugging and letting go a lot of stuff.
To
So it was
quote
cool.
another great legend, Johnny Valentine, I can't make people believe pro wrestling is real, but I can make them believe I'm real.
That's right. Even you, they'll believe in anything you do.
Yeah, yeah, and
That's a fact.
with that, I believe in you, Al. This has been a
Well, I believe in you too.
Al. I believe in you, and I believe in the
I
show.
believe in you.
I believe in this show. The only bad part of the show is I know it's coming to an end soon because I'm watching episode by episode while we do these recaps.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's taken me back to my days of body slammers and revisiting certain things there.
Yeah.
I understand that you just recently did a Road Dogs podcast since we're talking or
Uh-huh.
since we're ad free and some of our road trips came up and it's just making me this show wrestlers has made me very nostalgic. I love it. And kudos. We have two more episodes to do next week for
Yep.
episodes 6 and 7. But this
Yeah,
hour,
then it gets really interesting.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And kudos to you. Kudos to the production team. Kudos to the boys, to the men and women in that locker room.
Yeah.
I've reached out to a few privately just to say, hey, man, I've just, I feel like, I mean, like I wanted to talk about Brian and, the things he's going through. There's so many stories within here.
Yeah.
And the crew has done such a great job of handling multiple stories, which is what pro wrestling is, when
Yeah.
done right. But as we wrap this up, thank you again for joining me each and
Thank
every
you.
week. Thank you for going recapping this. Thank you to Ad Free Shows for allowing us to come on here and recap episode
Yes.
5. We'll be back next week with the final two episodes 6 and 7. Al, on the way out the door, can you let us know where we can find you on social media with you and OVW?
Yes. OVW, you can go to OV Wrestling on Instagram, Ohio Valley Wrestling on Facebook, but Twitter, Instagram, OV Wrestling. You can go to ovwrestling.com if you want to find out more information about watch OVW. You can watch OVW live for every Thursday night from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We're, other than AEW and WWE, the only other company in the world that does live television. And we do that live from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on Fight TV. That'd be the easiest. We're in about 100 million homes across the country on a variety of different national networks from Puerto Rico, Guam, Virgin Islands, Bahamas, on YTA, Game Plus, Next Level, Action Channel, RCN, Lily. But the easiest is Fight or YouTube. You can check us out on YouTube as well. If you want more information, go to ovwrestling.com. We have our big pay-per-view October 21st, No Rest for the Wicked. Can't encourage you guys all enough to buy the pay-per-view. It's only $14.99. If you want to go to OVW Academy, it's the only actually accredited by State Office of Proprietary Education as a trade school for professional wrestling, sports entertainment, and broadcasting in the world. You can go to ovwacademy.com. If you're wanting to follow me on social media, Real Al Snow, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Why the Real Al Snow? Because there have been some fakes, and if you fake being me, I'm just going to message you and go, look, aim the bar higher, really. You could be George Clooney, Brad Pitt, whoever you want to be on the internet. Why are you picking me? I mean, it ain't going to get you over, trust me. So if you want to check me out in my comic book, you can go to brokeniconcomics.com. If you want to read more, you will find out more about me. My autobiography, Self-Help, Life Lessons from the Bizarre Career of Al Snow, is on Amazon.com. You can check that out. If you want to see my stand-up comedy, you can go to Premiere Streaming Network, and there is a comedy special with myself and David Box, Historic Zanies in Chicago. You can check that out. I'm doing live stand-up in Lima, Ohio, October 28th, and my mom will be in the audience. Well, that will be certainly awkward. So, but I think I could take her. I mean, if it comes to throwing hands, if I can catch her. She's always been a sucker for a left. You know what I mean? So if I can get in there, she always drops her right. I can get in there. Maybe I could probably do some damage. So
I've seen your mom throw a mean headbutt, though.
Oh, she's nothing to fool with.
Oh yeah,
nothing to fool with. But I end up telling I tell some stories involving her, so I know she's gonna have a fit. So good.
Should be interesting.
Yes, it should be.
But if you would like to follow me, I am the Blue Meanie. Every Monday I have a podcast that drops, Mind of the Meanie. Go to mindofthemeanie.com. If you would like to support the Blue Meanie, go to prowrestlingtees.com. You can get yourself a Blue Meanie fight shirt or a BWO shirt. But most importantly, thank you guys for joining us here. Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Watch the show, rewatch the show, buy the pay-per-view.
Let's support it on
those
social
streaming numbers.
media. And support it on social media. Go to #Wrestlers Netflix. Keep using that hashtag Wrestlers Netflix, please. Keep it out there. Keep it going. Keep it trending.
Yes, absolutely. But for Al Snow, I am the Blue Meanie. And for ad-free shows, we thank you for watching. This has been Wrestlers episode 4 and 5. Have a great day. Thank you. Someday I'll come up with a good end tagline, but that